Alright YouTube, so today's going to be the first episode of the BMW E30 boosted build. I want to talk about something that nobody really talks about on YouTube or anywhere else on the internet, which is going to be your yellow, green, and white journal specs. Well, your crankshaft main journal specs. So what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to take a micrometer, you're going to want to measure your taper and add a round of your journal. If you don't know how to do that, I strongly advise to look up a YouTube video or ask a friend who knows how to do this, so that you don't do this wrong. Because if you don't know how to do this, uh, you're not gonna get the right reading. Also, this is a really feel-based thing, so the thousandths of the inch really matter for this. If you're going to be the slightest bit off and you order the wrong bearing, you're gonna spin a rod bearing, or your bearing is just gonna detonate way faster than it should. So what you're gonna want to do, you want to take your caliper and you're gonna want to measure first your taper out and around. If that's all good, then you have to just record your diameter of the main journal and the rod journal. Well, for the main journal, these are the specs right here. So your standard spec is 45 millimeters with 9 thousandths to 25 thousandths leeway, or whatever you want to call it. Your spec for the main journals should be 59.985 to 59.99 millimeters. How much that is in inches, I have no clue. Convert it. Don't use Google because that will give you the wrong. Uh, so here we got yellow, green, and white. So when you take your micrometer and you measure your journal width, you're gonna end up with numbers that land in one of these specs. So say for example, you get 59,980, you're gonna have to order the green bearing. And if you get something in between the white spec, you're gonna have to order a white bearing. Yellow is a standard spec, and that is for a crankshaft that did not wear at all or took really minimal wear. Sometimes you have to get these crankshafts machined. So say you got taper and out around, you would want to machine your crankshaft to one of these specs so you could get one of these bearings. Obviously, yellow is not going to be the option for you if you're going to have to machine your crank. So you either have to machine it down to the green spec or the white spec. Secondly, you got your rod journals, and you're going to want to do the same thing. Measure the taper and add around. If that's good, you got to get the measurements for your rod journal width. Well, diameter, actually. So this is the spec right here. I hope you all see it. So your standard is 45 millimeters. If it is out of round, you're gonna have to undersize it to the first or the second. Depends how bad it is. Piston skirt, you want to measure that. Usually they don't really wear unless you've had premature wear and your cylinder walls are scored. Then you're gonna want to measure for your piston skirt, which is this spec right here. And you're gonna want to measure this right here. So you have your taper and it faces up. So the top of your cylinder is going to be thinner than the bottom. Sometimes people run a yellow and a green bearing, so if you don't want to undersize your main journals, then you can run a bigger bearing on the top and then a smaller bearing on the bottom, vice versa. It really depends what your machine shop tells you to do if you're at that point. But yeah, this is how you pick out your yellow, green, and white main bearings for your crankshaft. That being said, I guess this is it for the first video. Next episode, I'll be using this flex zone to give the cylinder walls new crosshatch.